The Scottish accent. Lilting, friendly, trustworthy, and aggressive on a Saturday night. All jokes aside, as someone who possesses a fairly rare accent, and my accent is Scottish, not Irish, I'm often asked why I don't have an accent when I sing. And this isn't just a phenomenon that happens to me, it happens to lots of singers. Many people think that some famous British singers not only lose their accent, but sound American. Why is that? Accent and how it affects the voice is a fascinating topic for me. I teach singing lessons to people across the world from various different countries with various different accents. And these accents affect people's voices and therefore what we do in lessons individually. But the first step to finding out why someone might lose their accent is finding out what makes up an accent in the first place. So I asked an expert, dialect coach Pamela Vanderway.
So the elements that make up an accent, there are 4 main elements. So we can talk about the speech sounds or the phonemes. The phonemes are individual speech actions. Those can be broken down into consonants and vowels. There's also rhythm, which is when you string a bunch of individual speech sounds together. How long you hold each sound is going to cause a rhythm to occur. Same thing, anybody who plays music knows what rhythm is. Intonation or melody would be the relative pitch pattern. So where are the notes falling? Is it fairly even and monotone, or is it going to go up at the end or down at the end? And then placement. Singers talk about placement, and speakers talk about vocal tract posture. Singers have defaulted to the idea of placement and where is that sound hitting? The sound's hitting everywhere. It's going through your body, it's coming through everywhere, but when you think to focus it in a certain spot, that might cause your body to make certain actions. Your soft palate might rise very high, your pharyngeal tissues might move away or closer or whatever. So those are the 4 main parts that contribute to accent.
If you want to find an accent coach, whether you're an individual or a company, I would really recommend checking out Pamela's company, Dialect Coaches Worldwide. They manage some of the top dialect coaches in the industry and will match you up with the best coach for the job that you need to do. I'll put all the information in the description box below. Now we know all the elements of what makes up an accent, let's dig a little deeper. Phonemes, vowels and consonants. Vowels are one of the most defining features of an accent, but before we go any further, I need to point out that all these examples are going to be in the English language, but there are parallels in every single language. Think about how people around the world pronounce the O sound in words like both.
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 I love this example because it shows there are so many pronunciation variations. Even within one country, one rule doesn't apply to everyone. These differences are often reduced by the structure of music. In speech, we don't often hold onto a vowel for any length of time unless we're in a heightened emotional state. In music, vowels are often elongated, and these elongated vowels mean that singers are forced to assume the easiest vowel shape. This is further accentuated by high notes. Have a listen to this clip of Ben Platt singing his song Bad Habit. I want you to pay special attention to how he pronounces the word you.
Can I lean on you?
So, the song's rhythm means that the word you has to be sustained. But something else is happening here. He's morphing the oo sound to an ah sound. Why is that? Well, it's just easier. It doesn't matter that Ben is from LA. He'd probably still choose that vowel sound because it's the easiest way to sing that high note. In this case, it also helps him connect with the emotions he wants to portray. This note is meant to sound like a desperate cry, and if we were to desperately cry in real life, we're more likely to do it on an ah than an. So what about consonants? Consonants don't tend to mark accents quite as much. However, there are some notable, yet not universal examples. Americans tend to use something more towards a D than a T in words like water.
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 Water. I don't know why I super enunciated water. I say it like water.
Consonants are interesting because they get in the way of singing. By their very nature, they obstruct the airflow that we need to sustain notes. It depends on the aim of the singer and how important diction is in their interpretation and communication of a song, but people often drop or change the consonants to make it feel and sound more effortless. Let's look at another classic accent marking consonant, the rhotic R, which you often hear in American or Scottish accents. It's where you hear the R sound at the end of words like car or higher. In singing, people with rhotic accents will often drop that rhotic R sound and opt for an easier vowel sound like ka or higher. So think of lifting me higher and higher. It's an ah sound rather than higher. In short, people often adapt their vowels and consonants because they have to make a song sound more emotional or just to achieve that high note, even if it goes against their native accent. Intonation, melody, and rhythm. I've put rhythm and melody together because they're so connected. Both relate to the flow and emphasis and intonation of how we speak, whether it's by holding a part of a word or by changing the pitch. Many accents rely on melody and rhythm to define them. Think of sing-song accents like Welsh.
I know, but what can I do?
So I've got an example of rhythm. Let's listen to this clip of how people say the word caramel.
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 Some accents use 3 defined beats, whereas some people have 2 and make it a little bit smoother. Now, let's look at the same word and pay attention to melody. I've chosen some people who use the same rhythm here so you can see the contrast.
Caramel.
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 So, in the first clip, the melody goes down at the end, and in the second, the intonation rises at the end. In song, the rhythm and melody are more or less fixed, cancelling out the singer's usual speech pattern and accent, unless the song was purposefully written to accentuate that. Placement and vocal tract posture. Singers talk about vocal placement and speakers talk about vocal tract posture. As Pamela said, singers talk about where they feel the sound in their bodies, and this in turn affects how we shape our vocal tract. Speakers come at it from a different angle. They talk about the shapes and the physical movements that they make, and then that in turn affects where it feels like the sound is focused. Either way, accents matter when we learn to sing. Our natural placement can aid or hinder us dependent on the notes that we're trying to achieve. Think back to Ben Platt's You from earlier. He's not just changing the vowel shape, but he's also changing his vocal placement. To get a balanced and relaxed tone, especially over our break and on high notes, we generally need a neutral larynx and placement. In Ben's clip, this is happening at the same time as the vowel change to allow him to hit those high notes. Expression. I know this isn't a physiological part of accent, but it is something that changes how we pronounce words. Let's go back to our water example. A British T can give a clipped, bouncy feel. So a British singer might use that softer D sound to make it a little bit smoother. But on the other hand, an American musical theatre actor might use that strong T sound so that they really enunciate a word, even if they wouldn't in their natural speaking voice.
Water. I don't know why I super enunciated water. I say it like water.
However, the technicalities of singing are actually a smaller part of the story than you might think. Pamela gave me some really interesting insights into the psychology and anthropology of accents.
Accents are there as part of our social markers. We use them to gain access to social groups. If you want to sing a cover of something or sing the original of something, you have to realize that songs aren't happening in a vacuum. They're happening in society. And society has expectations. What is the expectation, or what is the style you're trying to do? You know, it's hard to sing a country song in an Australian accent and have it accepted by people who sing country songs unless it's a specific Australian artist singing it and there's a specific reason why that song also resonates in an Australian culture.
Something I find really interesting is the song Happy Birthday, because people almost always sing it in their native accent, closed vowels and all. And maybe this is because it's one of the first songs we learn when we start to speak. I certainly always revert back to Scottish accent if I am singing a nursery rhyme, for example. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. But mostly, I think it's because this song, much like an accent, solidifies social ties, with a community singing to another member of the community to show them how much they appreciate them. But why do British people generally sound American? Well, first, we need to discuss how singing styles formed. Before the internet, music genres came out of the lives, stories, experiences, and accents of local people. Singing styles formed because that was just how the original people sang them. And their singing voices were influenced by their speaking voices. For an example, let's look at opera. Yes, even opera, a style that requires a pretty unnatural vocal posture. This style formed because it boosts specific frequencies that cut through the orchestra and can be heard in giant concert halls. But it's probably no mistake that this style started in Italy. Italian vowels facilitate this sound. Once the style became popular, people then imitated it in their own languages and adapted their vowels from their own language towards the Italian vowels when singing. That's why most people find it more difficult to sing opera in English. The English vowels don't lend themselves to the opera style. In this example, people don't sound more American. They sound more Italian, or at least have an opera accent, which is derived from Old Italian. So it seems that accents aren't separate from singing styles. They define them. If a style is born from America, it is also born from an American accent, and therefore will probably be easier to sing in that accent. But it's not just down to ease of singing. It could be more to do with culture. Let's look at some styles that are obviously defined by their accent. Think Scottish folk, reggae, or country. These types of music are related to a particular group of people and still exist partly to maintain the identity of that group of people. This is particularly relevant in these specific examples, but also in the bigger picture. American culture has had a profound effect on music across the world. Jazz, blues, R&B, rock and roll, gospel, these are all the backbone of contemporary Western music. When this style spread to other countries, people with contrasting accents would adapt to fit the style to be accepted within that genre. Of course, some people go against this and use their own local accent to enhance their own unique vocal style. combining their own cultural identity with another music genre. Think of artists like Kate Nash, Lily Allen, The Proclaimers, or Paolo Nutini. Can you think of any singers that defy the accent of the genre that they sing in? I'd be really interested to see what you guys come up with, so please do post it in the comments below. So, do people lose their accents when they sing? Well, sort of. I understand why it might sound like they do, or even why it might sound like British people sound American. After all, American culture has been so influential on world music. However, people won't sound American in genres that aren't influenced by American culture. And we all have to adapt our pronunciation to fit the requirements of the song, no matter where we're from. So, although accents can become less obvious, they're rarely lost completely, unless a singer chooses to, subconsciously or not. But what is this really about? Well, I think Pamela was right. Accents and music are all about communication and connection. We sing in the way that connects the most effectively, even if it means adapting a little. Because the most valuable things in life are the connections that we have with others. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do like and subscribe. Also, once again, a big thanks to my patrons. These videos would not be happening if it wasn't for the patrons. So if you're interested to see what happens over there, we have a wonderful Discord chat. We have lots of extra content. Head over to patreon.com/BethRoars. And I will see you in the next one. Bye. Down.